Okay, welcome everybody. Hello, thanks for your patience as we get this going. Welcome. I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar, Wisconsin Homeowner Crash Course in Energy Efficiency, Tax Credits, and IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. First, let me thank our promotional partners who have helped spread the word about our program today. Thank you goes out to Community Shares of Wisconsin, Focus on Energy, Green Homeowners United, Renew Wisconsin, Sustain Dane, and Wisconsin Conservative Energy Forum. Let's begin with some housekeeping. Today's webinar is being recorded and a version of it will be posted to YouTube for public viewing on the CUB YouTube channel. I also want to acknowledge today's webinar support from Richard Stork of CUB, as well as Lisa at Evolution Marketing. Together, they'll be assisting us today. Please submit your questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom screen. We'll have questions, Q&A after the presentations. Q&A is listed under the More button, and if you have technical questions or questions you may not want shared with everyone here, please send them directly to Lisa Giesen-Bauer and include your contact information. She'll make sure either a CUB staffer or one of our speakers will follow up with you to answer your question. We have enabled closed captioning on this webinar, so access that by clicking on the box at the bottom of your screen with the CC inside of it. Next slide, please. My name is Tom Content, and I'm Executive Director with the Citizens Utility Board of Wisconsin, or CUB. I'm here because consumer protection is critical with utility service. The money you pay to your utility should be affordable for you and your home and your family and spent responsibly by the utility, and it should result in reliable service. CUB represents all of us in Wisconsin and advocates for these things. If you're not a member of CUB and think and agree with us that this is important too, please consider supporting our work and become a member today. Next slide. CUB's role as Wisconsin's only consumer advocate for residential and small business customers. We were founded in 1979, and we are nonpartisan and nonprofit, and we were the first CUB created in the whole country. And we advocate for consumer protection, affordability, fairness, as well as safe and reliable utility service that we all expect. More information about membership is at cubwi.org. Our primary focus at CUB is our regulatory work over in the cases at the Public Service Commission, and then we also do education and outreach programs like today. It's now my pleasure to introduce our program MC for today's webinar, Claire Schaefer Oleksiak. She's the Executive Director of Sustain Dane. There's a little bit more about Claire. As Executive Director of Sustain Dane, she aims to accelerate a sustainable environment and economy that benefits all members of our community. Claire is passionate about innovation, collaboration, and social impact. Sustain Dane's programs focus on ways to learn, connect, and take actions for holistic sustainability. These programs include workshops for businesses and individuals, energy efficiency and affordable housing, food waste reduction, and more. Thanks again for joining us today, and now welcome Claire.
Thanks, Tom, and thank you for everyone that's spending lunch with us today. This is a really great panel. I'm really pleased I get a chance to moderate this and hear this important discussion along with all of you in the audience. As Tom mentioned, Sustain Dane, we are a nonprofit focused in Dane County. We work on a number of sustainability topics, overall helping people learn, connect, and take action for sustainability. One of our programs in particular, called the Efficiency Navigator program, is linked with energy efficiency. It's really linked with this topic today. And in the Efficiency Navigator program, our work is honed in on small and medium-sized affordable apartment units. So looking at the efficiency and electrification, other comfort and resiliency measures, and reducing the cost burden in affordable apartments. So if that is part of your work as well, want to make sure you are aware of that program and look forward to connecting with you about that. All right, next slide, please. So we put together a wonderful panel for this educational program today. We were going to get kicked off by Tom Content. He is the CUB ED, and he's going to share an overview of the 2023-2024 winter heating costs and what we will be able to kind of expect regarding utility rates for 2024. Our second speaker is going to be Kane, the Chief Economist with Green Homeowners United. Kevin and his team are focused on southeastern part of Wisconsin, implementing energy efficiency measures. And he's going to talk about what homeowners can take away from this program, as well as financing some of these efforts. Our final speaker is going to be Brady Steigauf, and he's the Community Liaison Manager with focus on energy. He's going to highlight the focus on energy resources available, as well as tax credits and what we know is coming for the Inflation Reduction Act. I'd like to remind all the attendees that we can take your questions in that Q&A, and feel free to share in the chat as well, and just have a conversation and questions coming as we're going. At the end, I will be moderating a Q&A, and I'll pull from those areas. We're also going to share the slides and share the recording after the webinar is done. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tom to get us started. As we mentioned, Tom is the executive director of CUB, and he joined the Citizens Utility Board in 2017 after he'd been working for more than 30 years as a journalist. He reported on utilities. He worked as business editor at the Green Bay Press Gazette in the 1990s, then moved to Milwaukee, and he covered energy and utilities and sustainable businesses for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. So welcome, Tom, and thank you for kicking off our presentation today.
All right, thanks, Claire. And wanted to just set the stage with where the energy cost pressures are hitting customers, and it's kind of hitting both sides of our bills, electric and natural gas. So next slide, please. We can talk about that. But first, as a little bit more about CUB. So the goal of CUB and why Wisconsin was the first legislature to create one is to really level the playing field of influence where key decisions are made by the Public Service Commission and in the legislature, but primarily at the Public Service Commission, to make sure there's balance and that the residential customers have a voice, because until CUB was created, there was no entity actually providing a voice for residential and small business customers on all the important decisions that are made regarding what we pay and how our utility service is conducted. We focus on fairness for all customers, but we also focus on savings and affordability. And to that end, CUB has saved over $3.8 billion since 2006. That includes $40 million this year alone, and over $500 million in the last 6 years. Next slide, please.
Hey, Tom, could you check your microphone? Some of the attendees are having a hard time hearing you.
Sure.
And then attendees, there's closed captioning enabled. It's underneath the More button, so you can read the words if you're having a hard time hearing. Okay, some attendees say you were okay.
All right, I'm turning up the volume a little bit, and so some people might have to turn it down now. So we have residential and small business customers as we mentioned, our two groups of supporters and those that we advocate for. Next slide, please. This map shows across the country how consumer advocacy is happening from state to state, because utilities are regulated in each state. And so you can see that for all these blue states, that's a state government agency like an attorney's general office that represents you if you were to live there. And if you were an orange state, you would be blessed because you'd have state agencies and a nonprofit working on your behalf. In Wisconsin, Oregon, and Louisiana, there's just one group, and that's a nonprofit, like in our case, CUB. Next slide, please. All right, now let's talk about where we've come and where we're going when it comes to pricing. So a lot of folks did see significant increases on their electric bills at the start of this year. And you can see in this chart that the run up in bills since the early 2000s, including the rather dramatic increase on the right there, which just hit this year, which was, as you see on the left, higher than the inflation rate, even with inflation at elevated levels. But going back over time, that's also the case. Inflation, if our utility bills had only increased by the rate of inflation since 2003, the typical customer in southeastern Wisconsin for the largest utility in the state would be paying about $93 a month. Instead, we're paying about almost 130. And so those prices have more than doubled since 2003, and including that 11% increase just this year. Next slide, please. And so how do we stack up? And this is a constant question that we get asked. Are we competitive? And that's a challenge because only Michigan in the Midwest has higher electricity rates than Wisconsin. And as a result, most of the high price states are on the coasts, but that in the top 15, you'd see Michigan and Wisconsin ranks 13th. And the chart on the right actually breaks it down by utility. And you can see how if you ranked more than 50 utilities across about 11 states, four of our utilities rank in the top, kind of this top 16 or top as the most costly on the electric. That's again on the electric side of your bill. Next slide, please. So then switching to what for most people is the natural gas side of the bill. About 2/3 of Wisconsinites rely on natural gas for heat. And that's why we track it so closely. And this is something I tracked pretty closely at the Journal Sentinel for many years. And what we saw is that last year was one of the most expensive, or the most expensive ever, as natural gas prices had tripled during 2002, as the United States exported more natural gas, and given the challenge of the war in Ukraine, and that's impact on natural gas infrastructure. And so natural gas prices have eased a little. And so depending on the forecast, there will be down from last winter. But this forecast on the chart shows that even with that, it's going to be the second costliest winter in the last decade. And for other heating fuels, it will be one of the, if not the highest, most expensive. And so that's why we're here to talk about ways to save and promoting energy efficiency and opportunities to manage your own bills and take action. Next slide, please. Back on the electric side of the bill, you can see more change coming from most utilities. If you look at the bottom of the slide, you'll see the impact of the prices that went up just at the beginning of 2023. And then if you find your utility, you can just go right up the screen and see what the residential change would be for 2024 and 25 as the utilities have proposed it. It's a significant one here is the Alliant Energy increase, which utility customers of Alliant could be seeing a 19% increase. And that doesn't even include a surcharge that just started hitting the bills this month. So it's a challenging year. If you're in northeastern Wisconsin, you are the outlier. You may be seeing a decrease in 2024, but before you start uncorking the champagne, look down and you'll be reminded that your bills did go up earlier this year, a significant increase. So just wanted to. That gives you kind of the lay of the land for the size of the increases that the utilities have proposed. And those decisions are coming up fairly soon. The first decision we could be hearing about in just a couple of days. Next slide, please. So in these cases this year, there are four key issues that CUB is highlighting. One is the continued high profits of our utilities and ways to that's one way to make our utility customers who are footing the bills their bills more affordable. It's also important that big business should pay its fair share. Big businesses should, and residential and small business customers should obviously pay their fair share, but not a penny more. And we need more balance there. In a couple of cases, there's a question of how much customers should have to pay for utility. To keep profiting after coal plants shut down, and then detailed conversations about rooftop solar and how much people with solar should receive for the panels that they have on their homes. Next slide, please. So quickly wanted to just run down some simple things that we talk about a lot at CUB, and one is Making sure you're on the right rate program. On the left, you see time of use rates. Sometimes these are called nights and weekends rates. Most customers could save by converting this. It does require you to change some of your habits. If you can shift your dishwashing and your laundry, and especially if you have an electric vehicle, your EV charging to the evening and overnight hours, or early mornings, then you can see significant savings on your bills. And on the right is budget billing, which is that's a simple program that all utilities have, that basically evens out from the high intensity usage months of the winter and the summer, so that you don't see big swings. So that's another option that everybody should be taking advantage of. And of course, everybody in Wisconsin has the ability to provide whose utility is part of Focus, and that's almost everybody in the state, should be able to get a free energy pack sent to their home. And their Focus has a variety of energy packs that help with insulation and other areas, and Brady will be talking about those in a little bit. Next slide. That's the end of my remarks, and so I'll hand it back to Claire.
So helpful, Tom. Thank you for setting the stage and providing all that really important information, and for the work that you guys are doing at Cubs. Our next speaker is Kevin Kane. He's the chief economist for Green Homeowners United. Kevin is stepping in for Cedric Walker, who is a program manager at GHU, who's unable to join us today. So thank you also, Kevin, for stepping in today. So Kevin works with lenders, realtors, homeowners, lots of the players that are helping navigate and understanding the benefits of green homes, green mortgages as well. And Kevin is a numbers guy. He's calculating the carbon impact, the costs of economic returns for energy efficiency improvements, and the financial calculations for green lending. So we look forward to your presentation, Kevin, and adding some more of this information to our considerations.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Again, my name is Kevin Kane. I represent Green Homeowners United. We are a union energy efficiency residential social enterprise that is really trying to figure out how people fight climate change at home. We're proud energy assessors with BPI, the Department of Energy, Focus on Energy Trade Allies, members of Laborers Local 113, as well as programs like the City of Milwaukee's ME2 program. Next slide, please. We're very excited here at Green Homeowners United for what's coming, but we also know that some of it's not here yet. So we want to make sure that you all know what you can do now and how to prepare to take advantage of it. So a couple things to keep in mind. The first that we'd recommend is, as you'll hear me say over and over again, is get an energy assessment of your home. This is going to be one of the biggest steps to unlocking the incentives, rebates, tax credits that are coming. It's also what to do, what to prioritize, and in what order. You might be surprised what you learn in your home about where to start. Now, I would say that your average quality energy assessment would be somewhere in the realm of about $500. We've seen them. We've talked to many energy assessors across the state. Some are a little higher, some are a little lower. It kind of depends. What's nice about them is that they will help unlock rebates and tax credits in most cases, although we'll cover when. And so getting one of those now is something that you can do just to prepare for what's around the corner. Additionally, learning about the rebates and tax credits that are available now, both from Wisconsin's Focus on Energy program, as well as the federal government and the Inflation Reduction Act, is important for you planning about how to take advantage of these, because many of these incentives are first come, first serve, but some are also spaced out over a 10-year period, and it can make sense to piecemeal them over that time period. And lastly, in some parts of the state, depending on who you are, where you live, details about you, there may be rebates, fair financing, other things that are available to you to help you space this out, space out the cost of this, and to go deeper in your own home, which is an important piece, because as Brady will talk about after me, some of the energy incentives are actually higher if you do more in your home. And so that will encourage all of us to go deeper, to make our homes even more energy efficient. But that might mean that there might be some more out-of-pocket portions to leverage that additional funds, and things like green financing should be able to help with that. I see a note here from Steve here that they should be free or subsidized. In many places they are. In Wisconsin, they provide the rebates often in excess of the energy assessments if you do the work itself. So they want to make sure that they're not just giving funds for people to just get a report and do nothing with it, which is understandable. Next page, please. So just to get a sense of what you might expect from an energy assessment, learning about your house, of what's going to save the most energy, we have run hundreds of scenarios for what is actually going to accomplish the energy reductions that are required to unlock some of these incentives. Over and over again in Wisconsin houses, we have seen that they're more likely to be things like sealing air leaks, adding insulation to attics, basements, uninsulated walls up above ground, replacing old heating systems, especially those on fuel, oil, or propane, LEDs, replacing electric water heaters with heat pumps, as well as solar panels. And actually what you're seeing here is a picture of what many people are starting to do, insulate their basements in one of many different ways. For decades now, we've been told to insulate our attic, which many of us have, but a lot of our basements look like that picture on the left. So what we've learned is that these bullet points are far more likely in your average Wisconsin home to accomplish a 20% reduction in energy use, much more so than new air conditioners, windows, doors. You're generally not going to be able to get rebates for those unless they're rolled in with other improvements. You may get tax credits, but not necessarily the rebates that are based on performance. Next page, please. So I want to give an idea, and I know it's both a lot of print, but it's also not enough print for just some of the programs that are going on across the state right now that people can utilize. For example, there is a low-income weatherization program that's free to use, but there is a bit of a waiting list. It tends to cover upgrading furnaces, adding insulation. It's generally those for below 60% of the median income, and those generally on energy assistance. Additionally, in southeastern Wisconsin, Revitalize Milwaukee and the public, thanks to a grant from the Public Service Commission, is doing grants for attic insulation, basement insulation, sealing air leaks for those who are over 60 or have a disability or are veterans, in any case below a certain income. Now in greater Dane County, especially Madison, Middleton, and I hear a few new places possibly too, you can hear a bit more from Claire and others about the Efficiency Navigator program, which helps multifamily buildings add insulation, seal air leaks, replace heating systems to truly make our multifamily buildings a bit more energy efficient as well. Now, outside of the direct rebates, direct grants, things like that, there are a number of programs, and some of them are based in certain municipalities to make programs more affordable, spread out the cost of it. And a couple of examples of that might be the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is a block grant that goes to local municipalities, and then they decide under certain parameters how to use it. One example would be the city of Waukesha does a 0% interest loan for upgrades up to $25,000 with this program for home repairs as well as energy efficiency improvements. And while it's income limited, if you're a senior citizen or a person with a disability, you don't have to make any payments until you sell the house, hypothetically, if you don't want to. And so it's a great way for people to upgrade their home now, start seeing energy savings now, and spread that cost into the future. Similar, in other municipalities are going to have their own versions of how to use these funds, so look into yours. Another example is the city of Milwaukee has their ME2 loan program with Summit Credit Union, stands for Milwaukee Energy Efficiency, ME2. A $15,000 loan up to 15 years if you want. However, it's only for energy upgrades. It's only for the city of Milwaukee residents. But the nice thing is it focuses a lot less on credit score or equity, and it's just focused on helping people finance insulation, heating systems, windows, other energy stuff. Now, additionally, when in certain circumstances, if you're buying a house or refinancing, there are other programs like green mortgages for single family homes, multifamily buildings, for when, again, you're buying or refinancing, the bank or credit union can roll in the cost of other energy improvements, such as insulation, windows, solar systems, all that sort of thing at that time. So take a look at that as well. Next page, please. So what I want to leave you with is what I've already been talking about, is getting an energy assessment. But there's a few things to know about them because the world of energy assessing is going to be changing soon with all these funds coming up. So here's 3 things to know about them. For the Inflation Reduction Act homes rebate, which can make you eligible for $2,000 to $8,000 depending on impact and income, you'll need an energy assessment that utilizes something called a BPI 2400 compliant computer model. Not every energy assessor is using this. Be sure to ask if the energy assessor you're using, if their energy model counts for that. And if they don't know, I'll show them. Additionally, the heat pump rebate, HERA rebate as it's sometimes called, will also require an energy assessment under the new federal guidelines. So make sure that you're getting one of those overall. Next, please. Additionally, you can get $150 up to federal tax credit for an energy assessment, just for getting one, even if you do nothing. However, starting in January, energy assessors across the country are going to need to start listing their federal employer identification number, EIN, and their credentials right on the report. So make sure that the assessor has that and is agreeing to put it on the report. Otherwise, you can't necessarily get that tax credit, which is a nice little benefit, but more about showing you how to unlock even more. Next, please. Now, here's the good news. You can still get a $1,200 federal tax credit this year, plus more for heat pumps, for insulation, air sealing, windows, heating systems, some combination of those. So use it or lose it. But if you want to use, you won't qualify for the Inflation Reduction Act rebates yet. That's okay. You can still use them for future upgrades. So if you were to replace your furnace now or insulate your attic now because it's getting cold out, that doesn't mean you're invalidated from using the Inflation Reduction Act rebates. You can still use them for other improvements later, such as other types of insulation or other improvements. But just don't think you do anything today gets them for you later. So figure it out with an energy assessor, an expert who knows this area and can guide you through the different programs. Next, please. So with that, we're happy to help get people knowledgeable about how to take advantage of this. You can schedule a call with us right here, or a video, and we'll guide you to the best of our ability through what is available to you based on income, geography, impact on your home, age, ability, all that sort of thing. And so reach out to us, and we're happy to show you how to utilize all these programs. Thank you so much. Back to you, Claire.
All right, next slide. Kevin, yes, you got us some numbers. Thank you for that. We knew you'd be able to do that. And as a reminder, everyone, we will have a recording of this presentation and the presentation slides themselves sent out so you can reference them again, plus contact information for the presenters. Keep the questions coming. I see some are going to the Q&A and then also the chat. So we'll have those at the end of the presentations for a Q&A session. Next up, we have Brady Steigauf. He is the Community Liaison Manager for Focus on Energy. Brady's been working in energy efficiency industry for over 8 years, and his focus is and has always been about helping communities meet their energy goals through the energy planning and the engagement with residents and businesses. He just celebrated 1 year work anniversary with Focus on Energy. Congratulations. And has also supported the program, though, in other roles since 2020. So hand it over to you, Brady.
Thanks so much, Claire. If you could do the next slide. So I wanted to quick introduce Focus on Energy. Kind of like CUB, we were created by the legislature, but about 20 years ago, to be Wisconsin Utilities' statewide program for energy efficiency and renewable energy. So we partner with 107 or almost all the utilities in the state, with a goal of really helping eliminate energy waste in Wisconsin homes and Wisconsin businesses. So we primarily do that by providing financial incentives to help reduce the cost of energy saving equipment, because we know that when you save energy, we're actually strengthening our Wisconsin economy by reducing energy waste, and then that frees up dollars to spend locally in the economy elsewhere. In addition to those financial incentives, which I'll cover, we also provide education, information, and other resources to help customers navigate saving energy and reducing their bills. And there's our website. Next slide. So Kevin mentioned that too, that page with all the resources that was a lot of text and not enough text. The incentives that I want to focus on for you to be aware of are Focus on Energy resources and rebates, the federal tax credits that you can get at the end of the year when you file, and then the federal rebates, as well as checking if you have any local resources as well to help you with the financing. So this is sort of the recipe, if you will, to maximizing the incentives, especially when you stagger projects over time, as Kevin mentioned. Next slide. So I wanted to start with some education. I know Tom mentioned behavior tips can really be paired well with time of use rates that just lower your bill no matter what rate you're on. As Tom mentioned, get your free energy saving pack. I've got more on that, but that's a really good place to start. I'm going to focus on thermostats as one of the behavior changes that you can make to have a big impact on your bill. So usually heating and cooling your space in your home or apartment is about 50% of your bill. And so if you can do it, if you can bump your thermostat up in the summer or down in the winter, and do some behavior change like using fans to keep you cool in the summer, or wear a sweater, drink some hot tea, stuff like that to help keep your thermostat lower in the winter. Those will generally really help make a big impact on your bill. I know yesterday was Halloween, but we're still talking about energy vampires that focus on energy. We did a very good video on our Facebook page about them, but basically a lot of your appliances when they're plugged in are still using energy even when you're not using them. So to help slay those energy vampires, we say either unplug appliances when you're not using them or plug them into a power strip and turn that power strip off when you're done. Big culprits are usually your computer, monitor station, as well as TV entertainment areas of your home. Another one for renters or homeowners is usually you can buy some inexpensive caulk to go around your windows and doors and prevent some leaks around those areas where leaks are pretty common. As Kevin mentioned, this is one of the top things that we see as an energy recommendation. And then you can also weather strip your door if you're feeling a draft around that area. And I just wanted to mention that these things add up. It's estimated that they can be about 16 to 20% of your energy savings. And if you pair them with the time of use rate, you might even see bigger savings if you can modify the time that you do some of these things. Next slide. So the free energy saving packs. I think a link is going to go out in the chat for where you can get one of these, but you're eligible for one free pack every year. That's a calendar year. So you could order one today. And then when, as Tom mentioned, you're uncorking the champagne at New Year's, you can celebrate not just the new year, but also that you're eligible for a new energy saving pack. We've got 3 different ones for you to choose from. One is prepping for winter sweater weather, and that's the weatherization pack. So really timely right now as we start to see the temperatures drop. This helps you both with the window cling on your windows to stop drafts there, as well as some weather stripping included and some insulated outlet covers, which you'd be surprised in older homes often are uninsulated in a place where you're getting some cold air and some drafts. So that's one that we're recommending kind of right now as we transition to cooling season or heating season, excuse me. But we also have 2 that can kind of focus more on water savings and saving energy used to heat that water with your shower, with some light bulbs as well. And we've got a QR code there that you can scan as well now or after the recording. Next slide, please. If you find some things in the energy saving pack that you didn't get but you want, we also have an online marketplace where you can buy instantly discounted products. So you can see, I know it's a little small in this picture, but there's the original price and then the discount that is what Focus on Energy will provide you for going and buying these efficient equipment. So you can order this online. We offer a number of products on this website, which include some lighting, smart thermostats that can really help you save in addition to what you might currently have if it's a programmable. We also have water saving measures, some air quality filters that are Energy Star certified, power strips, and additional weatherization equipment that I haven't featured here. And I'll just mention, usually around Black Friday, the manufacturers will also have a sale on those smart thermostats, bringing the price even further down because Focus on Energy will still provide the same $50 off a smart thermostat. So I got mine last year for I think about $25 on the Black Friday sale. So it's a really big sale coming up very soon. And smart thermostats can really save you quite a bit on your heating and cooling. And they can pair with a time of use rate. Next slide. All right, so a little bit about equipment that we offer incentives on. We've got a lot of resources on our website if you're curious on what equipment you should get and just want to learn more. But I did want to cover in this webinar just the incentives that are available and how you can also pair them with a tax credit. So starting with insulation, you can see we offer a standard rebate for all incomes are eligible for that amount. But if you're income qualified, which is 80% state median income or below, you're eligible for an additional rebate for insulation. And you compare that with the federal tax credit as well, which can cover quite a bit of the project cost when all is said and done when you pair the rebate that you apply for Focus on Energy, and you get the tax credit at the end of the year. There's the home energy audit. We'll probably talk a little bit about heat pumps in the Q&A, but I wanted to just mention there's quite a bit when you partner the tax credit and Focus on Energy rebate today. You can get quite a big incentive there for those heating and cooling equipment, as well as we still offer incentives for standard natural gas furnaces. Next slide. Also, we offer incentives for hot water boilers and heaters, as well as solar energy systems as well. Focus on Energy will offer up to $500 or $1,000 in rural areas. And then on the federal tax credit, you get much more of the project covered with a 30% of the total project cost up to is what you're eligible for to get tax credits for. So just to reiterate, all of these incentives are available today if you did an energy project. And looking forward, we're going to have additional rebates. But I just wanted to mention there is sort of, as Kevin mentioned, there's some financing to do these projects now. And there is sort of a cost to inaction as well. So anytime you're replacing equipment, the sooner you do it, the more bills you have that are lowered because you're using less energy. So generally, we say for most customers, if you can afford it, now is actually going to be the best time for you to do an energy efficient upgrade. And as Kevin mentioned, some of the projects that you are going to do further down the line are still going to be eligible for the future federal tax credits. Next slide. All right, a little bit more about those future federal tax credits. So the information that I'm going to present on is based on the U.S. Department of Energy guidance. So Wisconsin implementation, which will probably happen around the fall of next year, is going to vary a little bit in terms of the eligibility and requirements. We're going to be doing some stakeholder feedback the next coming months to help make sure we hear from stakeholders. How should we distribute the funds? How do we make this easy and accessible? But I wanted to give you what information we have today based on the federal guidance. It kind of falls into two categories, as Kevin mentioned, the home energy homes or the efficiency rebate, or the electrification, which we sometimes abbreviate to HERA, for high efficiency electric equipment. A little bit of the difference is that the efficiency one is going to be for most incomes, and it's going to be based on performance or how much you can save in your home by a percentage of savings. And then the electrification ones are more about the equipment, and they'll be more income qualified or eligible. And it's going to be more the point of sale, whether that's from a contractor or a retail store where you buy it, where you'll get that rebate. Again, that's kind of the guidance that we have to date. Next slide. Covering a little bit of what this looks like. So here is the guidance. On the left, we have modeled savings and a percentage of area median income. So this shows you a little bit of the income eligibility. And then generally, it'll cover up to 50% of the cost for homes that have a little higher income, or if they're lower income, it covers up to 80% of the project cost. It's based on how much you're able to save. So the more you save, the higher the rebate you get. And if you're lower income, you also get a higher rebate. So you can see if you're able to save 20%, an average home would get about $2,000, or if you're income qualified, you'd get $4,000 for reaching that savings amount. Or if you can reach the $35,000, basically double those numbers. Another main takeaway, as Kevin mentioned, just to reiterate it, an energy audit is going to help you identify which projects are going to help you reach those savings targets and be able to target those ones that have the biggest payback and also make you eligible for the most amount of incentives. Next slide. For the electrification, I wanted to just mention that for it's sort of into two categories. We have a general guidance for moderate home incomes as well as lower income eligibility. And so for moderate income, it can cover up to 50% of electric equipment costs. And for lower income, it can reach 100% or up to 100% of the installation cost. Some of the things that this is going to cover are going to be heat pumps for heating and cooling your space. Also heat pump water heaters, high efficiency induction electric stoves, and then heat pump clothes dryers And a lot of older existing homes are going to need some electric panel uh, upgrades as well to handle that increased electricity use. And so there's some also incentives or rebates are eligible for panel upgrades as well to handle that additional electric load. And then last slide, I think I'm going to turn it over to the Q&A. But before I'll just reiterate, as Kevin mentioned, it's really great to have an energy audit first so that your home has a roadmap that's specific to your home. And then if you stagger some of these projects, you're able to get more tax credits each year. You're eligible to take advantage of those. You can braid them with focus on energy incentives that are available today. And then next year, you may, depending on your income, be eligible for those additional federal ones. And with that, I'll kick it back off to Claire.
Great. Thank you so much, Brady. Great information. We can take down the slides now, please, and we'll have just all of our faces up here for the Q&A. Okay, so to kick this off, we had a couple questions that came through specifically related to the information you were sharing, Brady. So kind of going through these on those tables, the columns you're looking at focus on energy and then federal incentives. We had a question that just wanted to clarify. Do both of those get to be applied to a project? So you get both the IRA and the focus rebates in 2024.
Yes. So the timing would just be a little different. Usually you complete an energy project that makes you eligible for a rebate from Focus on Energy. So you'll apply for that. And then usually it's anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. You'll receive a check in the mail versus on the tax credits, you'd wait until the end of the year when you're filing to get that tax credit back. And I should mention, I forgot, but work with a Focus on Energy trade ally. So Kevin at Green Homeowners United is one. I think we can put in the chat of where you can look them up on Focus on Energy's website. But these trade allies are not just great for an energy assessment that's local in your area, but also they will know some of our Focus on Energy rebates. And we're hoping to train them up on the Inflation Reduction Act rebates as well. So these are going to be really great resources as contractors that you can trust to help you install eligible equipment, as well as get the rebates that you're eligible for as well.
Yeah, that's a really helpful recommendation. And the stuff, Kevin, you've been sharing about to know what to be asking, when you're asking contractors what you're looking for. In 2024, will there be a Focus on Energy rebate program? And kind of when is that revealed to the public?
Yeah, so I would keep checking our website. I think one of the resources that we're going to share out afterwards is a blog that we have on taking advantage of federal tax credits. Our website will also be updated with information on where you can get the federal rebates when available. So our best guess right now is going to be sort of a year from now, the fall of 2024. But all the most latest and greatest information will be on Focus on Energy's website. So it's a really great resource to explore now and kind of bookmark and keep checking as this evolves rapidly.
Kevin, I have a question for you. We have someone that said they did an energy audit when they first bought their home, which is about 30 years ago now. Would it be good for them to invest in another one?
It would be, because both the technology and the materials that are available have changed quite a bit. I mean, heat pumps look radically different today than they did 30 years ago. Plus, like, as you saw in the picture from my slides, we have been doing a special type of rigid basement insulation that is water and fire safe that didn't really exist on the market not that long ago. Additionally, the kind of rebates, or excuse me, the energy assessments that would have been done maybe back then may not qualify for likely wouldn't that long ago, for the rebates and tax credits that are required. So if you want to take advantage of them, you should get another assessment. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good to know, because many of us have kind of been thinking about this for a while. Others are new to this, so just keeping up on how things are changing and information that we want to make sure we have at our fingertips. It's a process, right? This doesn't just happen overnight. There are many steps to this. So I'd like to hear from you guys, and probably starting with you, Tom. When you think about this process to go from I'd like to do something to it's time to implement, how do you suggest people think about approaching that work, approaching that journey, and maybe if there's any hurdles that you've seen that people should be aware of? You might hit one of these and you can still jump over it, just to be aware.
Right. Well, I think it's about having a roadmap which I think Brady had mentioned, but you really want to see where you are with that assessment, but then you want to plan out how you're gonna upgrade your home and when. For some people, the tax benefits may be best if it's a staggered approach, so that you do some things in 2024. You plan now, you get your assessment, and then once all the new initiatives are programmed, both the focus rebates plus the new rebates through the IRA, you'll have a more complete picture of what you can do, what you may want to start in 2024. But it's almost like having a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. Our utilities are known for doing long range planning, and it's really incumbent on us as customers to do that kind of long range planning so that we can really have a big impact on our own cost structure.
Great. Brady, would you want to add anything?
Not really. I was going to mention.
Oh.
Oops, there we go. Am I back? I was going to just mention if you really aren't sure where to start, we do on our website have a Get Started button that is kind of helpful if you're just like, I don't know where to start. I do think energy audits are great because they give you an individualized to your home. But just generally, I mean, heating and cooling are going to be in our Wisconsin climate the places to prioritize. Just because we have both extremes, hot in the summer and cold in the winter. And so things like insulating are important. And then my approach is work from the outside in and then back out. So it's like start with your insulation and air sealing, then focus on your equipment, and then consider solar once you've done all the efficiency things that you can do. That being said, not everybody has that luxury. If your furnace is about to go kaput, your plan for your home is going to look a lot different. So
yeah, and if I can add just quickly that, before you get an assessment, you can just walk around your house. When you think about the change in temperature that we saw Friday, we went from in southeast Wisconsin, went from 70s to 40s or whatever it was. You walk around your house and you can say, I'm chilly in this corner, or the same thing or where are you feeling hot on the hot summer days? Those kinds of things are really kind of the starting point, because usually and Kevin can speak to this probably the best, but if you're feeling that chill, that's an area of prime concern that is going to come up on the assessment when you do get one.
Kevin, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, in general, if you're how comfortable you feel is a pretty good indicator of where you need to prioritize. If you're feeling a drafty house, then chances are that, it's worth trying to address. A lot of times, though, it may not be where you think. If you feel air coming in at somewhere, that means that it's leaving somewhere else. So for air to come in, it's got to go somewhere else. So a lot of times people will tell us, oh, my doors are leaky, my windows are leaky. It could very well mean that I need to spend more time in your attic, because it's like putting a finger over a straw. It can't come in if it can't go out. So sometimes the energy assessments will show you a much cheaper way to do the thing you want done. And so that's one of the beauty of these sort of things.
Great. All right, we have some questions about new technologies. So let's start. And Kevin, why don't you kick this off? Can you just describe to us what is a heat pump, just to make sure we're all kind of understand what that is? And then we have some additional questions about, are the energy assessments part of what's needed to buy a heat pump, to qualify for that? But let's start with what it is, and then how that might relate to the energy assessments you've been talking about.
Heat pumps are really cool. Imagine an air conditioner that can both cool and heat the house. And an air conditioner moves heat out of the house to cool it. A heat pump can go in the opposite direction and move the heat back into the house to heat it as well. Now, they're very common in places like Seattle, New York, the South. They're slowly getting to the Midwest a bit more because they're now working better than they ever have to work in colder climates. That being said, you're probably still going to keep your furnace in most cases. You're just going to significantly scale back how often you use it. It's something known as a dual fuel heat pump, although there are all electric ones. But heat pump technology is the same sort of thing that you would find in a Tesla car, as well as a geothermal heating system. It's all heat pumps. It just depends on where the heat is coming from. And to the other question of, do you have to get an energy assessment? According to the latest Department of Energy guidance, which I did comb through line by line, yes, you do need to have an energy assessment if you want that $8,000 or 50%, whichever's lower, rebate from the HERA program for a new heat pump. We are still waiting on exactly if that assessment needs to look a little different. But in the meantime, our energy assessments at Green Homeowners United, we're running scenarios for people of what would a heat pump mean for your home in preparation, so people know what to expect.
Thank you. One other question, about getting these incentives, right? Want to get these incentives. Brady, for Focus on Energy, will there be an incentive for heat pumps in 2024 if you were to look into a crystal ball at this point? And then do you have to work with a trade ally, or is that a recommendation list?
Yeah, good question. So I think if I was to gaze in the crystal ball, I definitely think there would be something available next year. I know with the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the planning that we're doing for those new rebates that I mentioned, we want to make sure that anything that Focus on Energy still offers helps complement, not conflict with what some of the federal rebates will be. And then in terms of as a recommendation, definitely go with a Focus on Energy trade ally just because they will know all the rebates available. And I think in some cases they are required. I know especially for water heaters, that is the contractor is actually going to give you the discount on the high efficiency one. So if you didn't go through a trade ally, you probably did not get a discount on your water heater. So I really recommend look at our list that we have today. And if you know of a contractor that's doing good work, refer them to us. It's not too hard to become a trade ally. So, it also will help their business likely in the end.
Yep. That's helpful to think about. And also if you get multiple bids, you could always compare, a trade ally with someone else. Okay. So, Kevin, question for you is there federal rebates limited to the amount of taxes that someone pays? So for instance, is there a scenario you could actually get funding back if, the taxes you paid are less than what you would qualify for?
It's a great question. So the rebates that are from the Inflation Reduction Act for the homes rebate that's based on an energy assessment result and the heat pump rebate, they are not based on how much you owe in taxes. The amount can based on what your income is. Is it below 150% of the median income or 80% of the median income? I can get numbers for what that is. But the amount of the rebate doesn't matter how much you pay in taxes. What does matter are the federal tax credits. So two reasons why that's important. The federal tax credit, whether for solar, for heat pumps, for insulation, it is not a refundable tax credit. So if it is a dollar for dollar reduction in what you owe, but if it gets to the point where you don't owe anything else, factoring in prepayment and all the rest of that stuff, you don't get more of it back. Although sometimes, especially with solar, it can go to a subsequent year. Additionally, most of these tax credits are 30% of what you've paid up to a certain dollar amount. That 30% is taking off of the amount after the rebate is applied. So let's say you bought an $8,000 heat pump, you got half of it off, you'd be left with $4,000. You could get $100 or $1,200, 30% of a tax credit, because again, 30% of what's after the rebate. Important to keep in mind.
Great. All right, last question. So a brief answer for this, you guys. But last question is, what did we forget? What do we forget when we're doing this work? And I'll start with you, Tom. You're on mute. There you go.
I mean, I think what we forget is actually getting on the best rate, because sometimes we just forget that these time of use programs, we've mentioned them, these nights and weekend programs, they've been around for a long time, but they're not well marketed. And there's a huge opportunity for savings for if customers do some small behavior changes. And as part of that, I wanted to highlight that if you're an Alliant Energy customer, they actually have with 3 clicks of your mouse on your computer, you can actually switch to that today. If you go into your account on the Alliant Energy website and look for nights and weekends, it'll actually if you click on the right there, it'll show what you're paying, what your average payment is over the last year, and what it would have been under a nights and weekends rate. And with one more click, you could switch live to that different rate so that your energy going forward will be on that nights and weekends rate. This is a really innovative thing that Alliant has come up with that we hope other utilities are taking notice of so that we can see this kind of efficient transfer to nights and weekends statewide. Thanks.
That's great. All right, minute or less, Kevin, what are we forgetting? 30 seconds.
You stand on the shoulders of giants. A lot of other people are doing this. You're not alone. Come talk to experts or other people that have done this on their own home. You're not alone.
Great. Brady, your words of wisdom.
I was going to say similar. The power of talking, I think, as we explore these new technologies, it's important if you're an early adopter to share what worked well, what challenges you had, and the successes that you have. How did you navigate, 3 different funding streams to pay for these projects? Sharing that, especially with renters and seniors, I think, who are often sometimes overlooked. But renters can talk to their landlords and start to influence change. And seniors, I think, I learned a lot even from Kevin's presentation. On a fixed income, there are financing options available to you where you will come out at the end of the day paying less, even when you're paying a loan. So the power of talking and sharing those resources with people, and we'll count on all of those on the call to help us with that work.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this has been a great hour. I've really enjoyed spending time with you. I'm going to close out by passing this back to Tom to share a little bit more about other upcoming opportunities.
Super. Thanks, Claire. And so for those of you who weren't able to attend our webinars last year, we actually have more information that's available both on our website and on the CUB YouTube page where all the webinars were recorded and there's a special spot for them right on our YouTube page. And that includes action steps that people can take to use less energy. And also on our website, we have consumer resources in both English and Spanish. And next slide, please. And I wanted to highlight that coming up on November 29th, we're going to have a small business webinar, and the first, just related to the last question on thinking about what path to take. We're going to feature a home-based business that Evolution Marketing, in fact, that actually went through the path of going through all these programs and sorting through all the different alternatives to reduce their energy bill and their footprint. So that's coming up on November 29th. And then and then in December, on next slide, please, we're going to be doing another webinar focused a lot on CUB's policy work this year and actually where the rate cases and where electricity rates are looking for the new year. And so we're going to put a spotlight once the PSC's made all its decisions on all these rate cases, really clarifying for people what was decided and what things will be looking like going into 2024. So that'll be a recap from the CUB regulatory team. And then I wanted to just thank everybody for being involved with us today. At CUB, our mission is to help educate Wisconsin homeowners and residents, in short, utility customers across the state. Today's program is one of, as I said, one of 3 that we're offering this fall, and we'll have more next year. Please help us share. Please help sign up for that business webinar if that home-based business insights are of interest to you, because that's the next one coming up on November 29th. So I want to thank everybody for sharing the past hour with us. I hope, and be sure to look for those resources. We're going to be emailing out links to the slide deck as well as the link to the YouTube replay so that you'll have everything saved for all the great information that people were able to share today. That's the end of today's event, and have a great afternoon.